We're now joined by former Liverpool and England defender Jamie Carragher. Jamie, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How you doing, Jay? You good?
Yeah, all good after last night.
What a roller coaster.
What an absolute roller coaster it was. Have you recovered yet, Jamie?
Well, yeah, I wasn't at the game. I wasn't in the pub watching it, so I was watching it at home. So I haven't got a sore head this morning. But I think when the Denmark goal went in, I think obviously that creates panic. It was a great goal. I think it was the first free kick we've seen actually in the tournament. But England were always going to need to go through some adversity, whether it was last night in the semi-final or in the final, because it's almost been a perfect progression in some ways. And either conceding the first goal or having to go to a penalty shootout or maybe a player getting sent off. There's different things you have to overcome if you want to win a tournament or a title or a cup competition. And I think Italy had been through it, obviously with Spain, and I think a few game against Austria, I think they were already fortunate with an offside decision as well. So you need these little things to go for you. And I always felt something would happen in the next couple of games that England would have to overcome. So fingers crossed that was the moment that they had, and it's not Sunday as well.
It's a good point. Get it out of the way before the final. And it is our first major final in 55 years, Jay. Put into words, how big of an achievement is this?
It's massive because I didn't think England were capable of getting to the final. I thought getting to the semi-final would be a great achievement for this squad before the tournament. And that was looking at the actual draw and who we were pitted against in the first knockout round. I thought it would be really difficult, whether it was Germany, France or Portugal. And not since 1966, as an England team, not just got to the final, but actually beat a major nation in a knockout game. And that's what we did against Germany. And we'll have to do again to win the trophy, obviously, against Italy. And I must say I've been mightily impressed with Italy. I think Italy and Italy and England is the right final. I think they've been the two most impressive teams in this competition. And winner takes all Sunday.
And Jamie, who stood out for you for England last night?
Oh, Raheem Sterling. I mean, I think Raheem Sterling has been, I said this after the group games, I think he's been England's best player by a long way. There was a lot of talk going into the competition that his position in the team was up for grabs, which I couldn't understand because he's been outstanding for Gareth Southgate since the World Cup over the 2 or 3 year period. And especially the way Harry Kane's playing a lot more. Now he's coming a lot deeper for the ball and trying to get on the ball. You have to have people making runs in behind and have pace in behind. And I think before this tournament started, the two first names on the team sheet, if everyone was fit, would be Harry Kane and Harry Maguire. But now it has to be Raheem Sterling joining those two.
Player of the tournament for you, Jamie?
Now I think there'll be a few cases for Italy, and normally a player of the tournament does come from a nation who has won the tournament, not all the time. I think maybe Luka Modric was involved in that when Croatia missed out on the World Cup a couple of years ago. But I think normally the team that wins it, Italy will have a few shouts as well. Maybe the left back, who unfortunately is not going to play in the final. Chiesa's come in and done a great job, but the two centre backs as well for Italy. But not just Raheem Sterling, there's a few players in the England team. I think Harry Maguire's made a huge influence since he came back in as well. Harry Kane's now getting back up to what we expect from him in terms of getting goals and performance. And it's very difficult to look at any part of the Italian team or the English team who we played in the last couple of weeks, who you could say haven't had a good tournament, and that's why they are where they are. But I think Raheem Sterling at this moment has it to lose, shall we say.
Jamie, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but what did you make of the penalty involving Sterling, of course? Do you think it was the right call?
No, I don't think it was a penalty. I think you'd be disappointed if it went against you. And I'm not going to change my stance on how I see these situations. I've consistently said for the last 7 or 8 years on Sky that I don't have a go at strikers for doing that. And I'm not saying it was a dive, but he was clever and he won the penalty. I look at the defending and think, well, don't give him the opportunity to do that. So I wasn't quite on the bandwagon maybe a few days ago of maybe criticising the Italians for certain things as well. So I think we're in the position now with what's happened with Raheem and getting the winning penalty, where if the same happens to us on Sunday in the final with an Italian going down, or maybe they're winning the game towards the end and they're wasting time, I don't think we're in a position to be too critical. But listen, it's one of those, sometimes it goes for you, sometimes you're not happy when it goes against you, and let's just be thankful. And let's not dwell on it anymore. Let's move on.
OK, let's move on then to England's first goal that they conceded in the tournament. How important is it, Jamie, for the team to know that they can go behind and still win?
I think it's huge. I mentioned that earlier on, that you have to go through that adversity. I think it was a great shot you just showed earlier. And I remember from the game when the goal goes in, you see Harry Kane, the captain, just urging everyone on. And I'm sure this would have been mentioned before the game by Gareth Southgate that, it hasn't happened yet. The law of averages is the opposition will score a goal and it may be the first goal, and you've got to overcome that. So I think it was a really big hurdle, and I wasn't too nervous when it went in, to be honest, because I just felt England will have to do this, either, in this game against Denmark or in the final against Sunday. It won't just be rosy where you win a game 2-0 and you get to the final, you win that 2-0. You've got to come through tough moments if you want to win things, and that was a big one for England. And how quickly they got the equalising goal, I think, was hugely important. If it's been 1-0 at half-time, I think that's when the worry kicks in, because Denmark have got a chance to regroup, set themselves again for the second half. So how early that goal came, and a brilliant goal with all the front three involved.
Yeah. Let's talk about Gareth Southgate a little bit more, Jamie. I mean, of course, it takes so much bravery to stick to your decisions when you're an England manager. So many people putting pressure on him, who should play, who shouldn't. He's stuck to what he's wanted to do. He's made his own decisions. And even Grealish last night, he brings him on. Grealish does nothing wrong. If anything, he changes the game for a while, but brings him back off because that's what he sees tactically as right. I mean, how impressed have you been with him?
Massively. I done a newspaper article, I think, after the second game, or maybe the first game, actually. It just feels, about Gareth Southgate, it just feels he's perfectly suited to international football and this England squad. And my article was actually about the fact that Tottenham and Everton, two of the biggest clubs in the country, didn't have a manager at that time. And no one would ever link Gareth Southgate with those jobs. And that wasn't a criticism of Gareth or those clubs. It was just that if the big jobs come up in this country, I don't think Gareth would be in the running for them, because for whatever reason, maybe what happened at Middlesbrough before, or he's just seen almost like perfectly suited for England. And that was my point. The top clubs may not come from him, but there's no one else you would want managing England than Gareth Southgate. He's an ex-player who's got the experience of being in tournaments. He's been within the system as the under-21 manager. He knows these players, and his actual demeanour, I think, makes everyone calm. His press conferences, there's no circus outside of this England squad as there used to be when I was playing. And he just seems to take the sting out of situations that you think could grow bigger and engulf this squad and be a bit of a problem. And I just think he's absolutely perfect for this England team and international football. And I think there's no need to worry about what clubs would be interested in, because I think he's going to be England manager for the next couple of tournaments at least.
Well, let's look at Italy for a moment, Jamie. They have looked very good so far on this very long, unbeaten run, but arguably they were second best in their semi-final win over Spain. Do you think England will be encouraged by that?
Yes, I think they will, but I don't think England will be naive enough to look at just that game. You could look at the game against Belgium and look how impressive they were as well, really. And they were always going to be second in the possession, stakes against Spain. That was always going to happen. Spain gave a great performance, no doubt, but there was just something about watching the game. I always felt Italy would win. I always felt Spain's goalkeeper may let them down, and I think the Italian goalkeeper, I think, is a huge plus point for them and the two centre-backs. But as I said, Spain were very unlucky, there's no doubt about that. But that goes back to my point about teams getting through tough games, getting over the line, coming through adversity, and Italy have done that a couple of times. So there's a real winning mentality with that run that you've just mentioned that they're on. So there are going to be times throughout the tournament where you don't play your best and you've got to come through. And I think Italy have done that twice now. Once against Austria, they're quite fortunate with an offside decision, and another one against Spain. So it'll be a really tough game. These have been the two best teams in the tournament. So this will be a really tight game on Sunday. And I think England analysing Italy will be analysing more the actual really good performances and realising how tough it'll be.
Yeah, Jamie, I think I've got to agree with you. It is the right final, England versus Italy, behind us here at Wembley on Sunday. And I've got to ask you before we let you go and have your breakfast and a cup of coffee, finally, is it coming home?
I think it will be. I think it'll obviously be a very tight game. I think it may go to penalties, this game. and England come out victorious. And they've done a lot of work on penalties. And let's not let that go to waste, all that work. So if we're going to win it, I think it'll be on penalties, because I don't think there'll be, maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think there'll be too many goals in the game. I think it's a really strong defensively, so are England, and that's where the strength of both teams are. And yeah, I think it'll be 1-1 in the game, and I think it'll go to penalties.
Oh, Jamie, I don't know if my heart can handle penalties.
It will, you'll get through it, you'll be fine.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show this morning. Thank you for joining us. We speak to you soon.
Cheers, Jamie.
Thank you.